Thank you for joining us for the 2018 College Access Advocacy Day webinar. I will be somewhat of your host, as well as our Executive Director, Brandy Johnson, and two of our other staff members, Dominique Clemens and Emma Walters. College Access Advocacy Day will be taking place on Wednesday, April 25th, 2018. So just a refresher, the Michigan College Access Network works each and every day to increase college readiness, participation, and completion in Michigan, particularly among low-income students, first-generation college-going students, and students of color. When we talk about college, we have broken down the word using four definitions. One, we consider college as post-secondary education. We use the term college to refer to attainment of valuable post-secondary credentials beyond high school, including professional technical certificates and academic degrees. We also believe that college is a necessity, that post-secondary education is a prerequisite to success in a knowledge-based economy. We think that everyone must pursue and complete a post-secondary credential or degree beyond high school. We also have an equity imperative. We believe that college is for everyone, that post-secondary educational attainment rates among low-income students and students of color are significantly lower than those of other students, and we and our partners are committed to closing those gaps. And finally, we believe that college is a public good. We believe that post-secondary educational opportunities and attainment are critical to a just and equitable society, a strong economy, and healthy community. This is our big goal. We seek to increase the percentage of Michigan residents with degrees and post-secondary credentials and certificates to 60% by the year 2025. We also see this as Goal 2025, and you'll see that throughout the entire Advocacy Day. This is just a snapshot of our new strategic plan, in which we encourage you to visit our website. But advocacy is a huge part of our new strategic plan. It's been a part of MCAN's history, and we will continue to lead and guide the work around ensuring that students are prepared for and attain college degrees and credentials. We try to serve as Michigan's authority on college access and success through leadership and advocacy. So we seek to advocate for policy reforms that expand post-secondary opportunities, again, specifically for low-income students, first-generation college-going students, and students of color. So why advocate? Well, we've identified three pretty key and basic reasons why not only our grantees and our partners, but other organizations across the spectrum and across the field should advocate. One, it's a great opportunity to educate legislators about your specific program and just the importance of post-secondary education. It's also a really good opportunity for our partners to gain knowledge of the legislative process and current issues impacting our field. And finally, it's a great opportunity for our partners and professionals to network with each other across the state. So it's really a great opportunity for you maybe to meet new folks, learn about other programs and projects across the state. This is your MCAN advocacy team. These will be familiar faces that you will see throughout Advocacy Day. So feel free to reach out to us throughout the day for logistical support, assistance, and even before the day, you can always call us for guidance. You have our Executive Director, Brandy Johnson. You have myself, Sarah Anthony, serving as Deputy Director for Partnerships and Advocacy, Dominique Clemens, Program Assistant, and Emma Walter, who is the Operations Assistant. I will let Brandy Johnson take it over from here.
Great, thanks. And I'm thrilled to have so many people participating in Advocacy Day this year. It's a very energizing event, and I know our state legislators love to hear from you locally. So this is the content piece of the webinar to talk about what is the current landscape of key policy issues in Lansing and some critical talking points that can help you craft your messages when meeting with your legislators. So what I'm going to go through over the next couple of minutes are those key messages and talking points to help frame Goal 2025 and our work to increase post-secondary educational attainment. Discuss House Bill 4181, which is a huge win for us from an advocacy standpoint, and then dive a little bit more deeply into the here and now, what's going on in Lansing as we speak, including debates on the FY19 budget, a package of bills related to career readiness that are making their way through the legislature, as well as the governor's proposed Marshall Plan for talent and the implications it has for the college access and success field. Unlike 2017, where we had some very specific policy priorities and issues that we are tackling, this year in 2018, we're really embracing the fact that it is an election year, not just for the legislature, but also for the governor's office as well. And so, although there's lots of issues that we could talk about, we really want to capitalize on the spirit of an election year and make sure all those that are running either for election or re-election are well informed about the topic of college access and success and truly prioritize the topic of attainment as they think about even the next legislative cycle in 2019-2020 and the first term of whoever will shake out to be our next governor. So given that as a frame of 2018 is an election year, these rest of these bullets help to paint that picture in terms of the issue of attainment. So first, we always point out that the stakes are high. I often say we are in a talent and emergency. Talent attainment has to be the #1 priority for Michigan in order to compete in nationally and globally for jobs, in order to make our state economically vital and viable and our communities a great place to live and raise a family. At MCAN, we usually call these set of talking points making the case for why this issue is so important. It's not just about economic development, but also all of those public benefits of having a more highly educated populace. But the issue around talent attainment has to be our #1 priority as we look into 2019. The second piece that we are trying to push from MCAN is to continue to get away from college versus career, which has been a real struggle in Lansing and throughout the state. This divide between college, which I think a lot of people think is universities, versus career, which a lot of people think are fields that are more technical in nature and maybe don't require a bachelor's degree. MCAN has led the way in reframing the debate. We call it balancing the pendulum, and saying that there is not a distinction between college versus career or a competition between college and career. It is both and our position is that college is inclusive of all different types of post-secondary credentials, including technical certificates as well as academic degrees, as Sarah discussed, and that the bottom line is that a high school diploma simply isn't enough to compete in the labor market. So really keeping the focus on credential attainment, and that we need more people in our labor market with all sorts of different degrees. We need more people with certificates. We need more people with applied associate degrees. And we absolutely need more people with bachelor's degrees and beyond. But keeping the focus on credential attainment and not creating rifts between credential attainment. The next point is that investment truly matters, and that we have to invest real state dollars into this area. The two areas that we isolate as in particular need of some strong investments are school counselors and student financial aid. School counselors have been a top priority for MCAN since its inception, and we need to invest more money into hiring more counselors. I'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about the Marshall Plan. But also Michigan ranks 40th amongst the 50 states in terms of per capita investment in student financial aid. We appropriate very few resources into financial aid, and if there was an area where we should dedicate the most number of resources, it's into our student scholarships and grants budget. And then lastly, of course, MCAN matters. This is MCAN's Day at the Capitol. We want to increase our name recognition and image to lawmakers, and we rely on some state funding to help support our efforts. MCAN is a public-private partnership that pays off huge dividends for the state, and so incorporating that into your talking points is very, very helpful. So the first thing I wanted to mention, and I think this could be a really great segue or talking point when first meeting with your legislature, is some good news. You always want to start with the good news. Last year at the 2017 Advocacy Day, our highlight, the thing that we were most excited about was pushing the legislature to pass House Bill 4181, which requires that school counselors receive 50 hours of professional development in college and career readiness every 5 years in order to renew their licenses. And we're so thrilled to report that after all of that work, advocacy really does work, and the law passed overwhelmingly in the legislature, and the governor signed the bill into law on November 8th of last year. You can see a picture of the governor with a bunch of supporters, including the folks here at MCAN. So one great way to start your meeting with your lawmaker is to thank them for supporting the bill. The bill was supported by Representative Roberts. He's the one in the picture holding the bill with Governor Snyder. He represents Eaton and Lenawee counties and was a huge champion of the bill. Like I said, the bill passed almost unanimously. It passed unanimously in the Senate. There was not a single zero vote in the Senate. And then there were only 6 no votes in the House. I think it passed like 101 to 6 was the title. So you can check out the names there of those 6 lone representatives. So maybe don't think, if you're meeting with one of them, don't thank them for voting yes, because they indeed voted no. But overwhelmingly, our legislators supported this, and it's a huge win for our field. So the second set of things that you can talk to your legislator about is the budget, and it's certainly top of mind to legislators right now. I will flag that we are recording this webinar on March 28th. Despite our Advocacy Day being on April 25th. So if there is movement on any of these budget bills, we'll absolutely send out an update, and we'll also make sure to mention it at the top of Advocacy Day before you start your meetings. But the first step of the budget process is for the governor to release his executive budget recommendation. He did that on February 7th. This is his 8th out of 8 budgets that he will present to the legislature. And the legislature is working kind of slowly. There's some behind the scenes issues related to infrastructure and roads, and related to the sexual assault bills as a fallout of the MSU situation that has making the budget, especially the higher ed budget, go a little bit more slowly than usual. But I'll give you an update about where we are right now, and then update you if things change. So the first relevant budget is the community college budget. You can see the bill numbers there. The governor actually did not recommend an increase into community college operational funding. The House is the first to react. Their subcommittee did propose a 1% increase, which is equal to $3.2 million, which is a win. The Senate is scheduled to meet on April 11th, but haven't yet. We are supportive of the House's proposal to increase funding, and hope that the Senate and governor double down on that or sign on to that. And then you can see the members of the subcommittees that are working on the community college budget. If it happens to be one of the ones that you are meeting with, this is an area that they certainly will want to talk about. And it's especially important if you have a community college in their district, in your community, to talk about the value that community colleges play in your community. The second budget is higher education. The higher education budget always includes all of the university funding as well as funding for student financial aid. The governor recommended an increase of 2% for our state universities for operational funding. This equals just under $30 million. There's a lot of strings attached to those dollars. It's distributed based on performance metrics. In order to qualify for the funding, the increase in funding, the universities also have to restrain tuition to no more than a 3.8% increase from where they are now. They also have to participate in the Michigan Transfer Network, establish reverse transfer agreements with at least 3 community colleges, and largely accept dual enrollment credit. So there's some strings attached to it, but we are thrilled to see an increase to the universities. He also recommended an increase in TIP by $1.5 million. And to be totally honest, that has a lot to do with all of you working in the field. Because of so many college access professionals working with students and families, TIP uptake has increased really significantly over the last several years. And in recognition of that, TIP has been increasing to meet that demand. So that's really exciting, and we celebrate that increase by TIP. Like I mentioned, there's some bigger higher education issues taking up the oxygen in the room right now, and so therefore neither the House nor the Senate subcommittees have acted on the higher education. We are supportive of the governor's recommendation to see the 2% increase for universities, but would have loved to see an even greater investment into need-based student financial aid. You can see the subcommittee members below as well. And then the last piece on the budget that is relevant to our field is the school aid budget. This is actually where MCAN's funding falls. The governor recommended a $3 million maintenance of funding for MCAN, which is excellent, but also 2 other pieces that are relevant. First is $750,000 for testing costs associated with advanced placement tests and international baccalaureate tests for low-income students, as well as $1.75 million for incentives to districts that are supporting student efforts to do dual enrollment. The governor also included an increase of funding for promise zone payments, actually doubling from $1.5 million to $3 million. Again, this has a lot to do with the work of the promise zones themselves. These payments come from tax capture. So as property tax increase and also as the number of zones increase, the state has to appropriate more money and sort of plan for those tax capture payments to go back to the zones for scholarships. So that was a cool recognition as well. The Senate subcommittee has met on school aid, did concur with funding for MCAN and dual enrollment, which is always great news, as well as the promise zone payment. The Senate actually recommended an even larger amount be appropriated for those AP/IB testing costs. That has to do with the fact that there used to be a federal grant that paid for AP and IB costs, and that federal grant went away, and so the state is recognizing that there is some gaps that need to fill. The House has not acted as of today, but we are thrilled with the Senate subcommittee's recommendation and hope that the House follows suit. You can see the members of this subcommittee below. Okay, so moving away from budget to some policy bills. Now, there is a series of, there's a package of bills that's known in Lansing as the Career Pathways Package that the Talent and Economic Development Department has really taken the lead on in partnership with Michigan Department of Education. These next 3 slides where I explain what these bills are and what's going on with them are really for informational purposes only. MCAN has not taken a stance on any of these bills, but they're absolutely relevant to the field. If this is a priority for the schools that you work with or the community, I do encourage you to share information about the college and career programming that are going on in your community and how these bills could help or hinder your efforts in that regard. And if you want any more information about the details of any of these bills, I'm happy to be a resource for that as well. So there are 2 bills related to career readiness skills. Both of them have worked their way through Senate committee and are waiting for a full vote on the Senate floor. One would improve the EDP process or require that schools improve the EDP process to be a more meaningful process, have better information on current labor market data and in-demand career opportunities, as well as an opportunity to create a talent portfolio. You could also think of it as like a talent transcript, where students could document their employability and career readiness skills throughout high school and have that as a document that they could take to jobs or even to post-secondary institutions. So that has to do with the EDP. The second bill, and these are considered part and parcel to one another, is that bill would require schools who all have to do school improvement plans, that those school improvement plans include plans for how the school plans to address career readiness programming. So what kind of opportunities will students be afforded to have real life work-based learning opportunities, internships or externships, and information about learning more about career resources. So like I said, both of those have passed through committee and are awaiting action on the Senate floor. The next set of 3 bills are pretty major changes to the Michigan merit curriculum. Again, all 3 bills are in the same spot and are really thought of as one package. They all passed the House completely, including a House floor vote, have been transmitted to the Senate and were referred to the Senate Education Committee. The Senate Education Committee has not yet taken action. The big changes are have to do with arts, foreign language, and math. So the first 2 bills have to do with arts and foreign language. Right now, currently, students are required to complete 1 credit in art and 2 credits in foreign language, a total of 3 credits. The bills would take those 3 credits, maintain the requirements that there be 3 of them, but rename them 21st century skills credits. And then a student could complete those credits still through art classes or foreign languages, but in addition to those, options of fulfilling those requirements could be made through a computer science or computer programming or a computer coding course or a CTE program. So you could fulfill those 3 credits in more ways under these proposed bills. And then the 3rd bill would modify the math graduation requirements. Currently, students must take 4 credits in math, including at least 1 credit in algebra, 1 credit in geometry, and 1 credit in algebra 2, as well as a 4th math credit that can be a number of things. Students also must take math during their senior year, their 4th year of high school. Under the bill, students would still need to take 4 credits, still need to take credits take math their senior year, but they would only be required to have 1 of those credits be algebra, 1 of those credits be geometry. That 3rd credit could either be algebra 2 or it could be statistics. And so that's the proposal in House Bill 4318. And then the last set of bills are the Michigan Career Pathways package of bills. Again, more to do with some career readiness with an emphasis on CTE and skilled trades. One bill requires the State Department of Education in partnership with the Talent and Economic Development Department to adopt a program of instruction in career development, and then require schools to actually incorporate formal career development curriculum into their current curriculum. The second bill would require high schools to provide directory level information to Michigan Works agencies, trade schools, colleges, universities, certain employers and apprenticeship programs, to give information, contact information for those students so that they can help recruit and promote different educational and career opportunities. Parental consent is part of that, so parents can absolutely opt out of that. Then there's a set of bills allowing schools to hire non-certified teachers, so teachers that don't have licenses with certain endorsements or certain certificates in order to teach in CTE programs, so trying to get practitioners in various industry and fields to become teachers in these fields without having to have a traditional path to licensure, and not having any penalties related to school aid. And then the last one actually has to do with teachers and educators, including counselors and administrators, but basically would allow teachers who do externships with employers or spend time at career and technical education centers to have those hours count toward professional development or sketches, continuing education hours, toward the renewal of their certificate. Again, all of those bills have passed the House and have been transmitted to the Senate. These set of bills were referred to the Senate Economic Development and International Investment Committee. And then the last thing I wanted to mention that is definitely a hot topic in Lansing is the Marshall Plan for Talent. The governor released this in February of this year. The governor and the Talent and Economic Development Director, Roger Curtis, described the Marshall Plan as a revolutionary partnership between educators, employers, and other stakeholders to transform Michigan's talent pipeline and redesign the ways we invest in, develop, and attract talent in our state. The program itself is really the money behind some existing and some new talent programs. It has a $100 million price tag that the governor has now laid out and shared with the legislature as a supplement to the budget that I described earlier. The $100 million would be spent over 5 years in theory, so beyond this administration and into the next on various talent development programs. There's a very, very long list of programs that the Marshall Plan is proposing. I'm going to focus in on a couple, but one thread that is woven throughout all of the Marshall Plan is a really strong emphasis on in-demand fields, and specifically in-demand fields that include IT and computer science, advanced manufacturing, healthcare, and the skilled trades. The three programs that MCAN is really pumped about, and ones that we are working really closely with TED and MDE to help design, support, promote, are listed here. The first is a program called Career Navigators. The Marshall Plan proposes investing several $1 million to hire 150 career navigators to help students explore career options. There's a lot of detail that remains to be seen about these navigators, but we do imagine that schools could hire additional school counselors or post-secondary planners or advisors to help fulfill this role. It will be a grant program to districts. And so we're excited about the extra personnel in high school buildings helping students explore their post-secondary plans. Second, there's some dedication of resources to expand career cruising statewide as a career development tool, as well as to make My Bright Future an option for all students. And these are education and career planning tools that that schools widely use now, but to make sure that there's access statewide for these programs. And then lastly, the Talent for Tomorrow program, which is actually a scholarship program. The governor's providing 16,000 students, and not necessarily traditional age students, absolutely inclusive of adults that are very low income, with both scholarships to pay for tuition for 1 or 2 year programs, so associate degree and below, in areas of those high demand fields that I mentioned, so IT, manufacturing, healthcare, skilled trades. What's exciting, I think, about the scholarship program is, well, one, that it's financial aid, and that's Michigan needs a serious infusion and investment of resources into financial aid. But secondly, that in addition to the money for the actual tuition, the proposal does include living stipends, so additional resources that students could use for childcare, transportation, and other living expenses to make their educational goals reality. So we're excited about those pieces, and those would be really great talking points when meeting with your legislators and talking about the Marshall Plan. You can isolate these programs as ones that would do a lot for your work and for the field. So I will now turn it over to Sarah to provide some additional insight into Advocacy Day.
Thank you, Brandy. So a quick note for the LCAN coordinators, our local college access networks. You will have some additional asks that we recommend during the Advocacy Day. One, definitely make sure to ask the legislators that you are meeting with to engage in your local network. A couple of ideas is to ask them to be a speaker at your upcoming decision day. Legislators love to do legislative tributes, so having them recognize your local efforts during the upcoming Michigan College Month. Ask them to designate one of their staff members, their in-district staff, to join the leadership team to provide the state's perspective on things that are happening in the community. And also another good idea is to have them draft an op-ed about the importance of post-secondary education. These are a couple of ways that they can tie into what you're doing and just become an advocate, not for just the field and for the policy changes, but for your local network.
All right, this is Dominique. I am taking over on logistics. So at any point from now till we get to Advocacy Day, if you do have any questions about scheduling or any logistics, feel free to reach out to myself, and all of our contact information is provided at the end of this webinar. So first, going through the schedule of what Advocacy Day will actually look like, we're going to be beginning bright and early at 8:30 in the morning with our registration, and we will have a light breakfast provided. At 9 o'clock, we're going to go straight into our advocacy training, and we're really excited to be partnering this year with Michigan's Children, who's going to be leading an advocacy training, giving us some tools and some resources on how we can speak with our legislators and how we can do some proper follow-up. After that, from 10:30 to 12:45, there'll be scheduled legislative meetings, and during that same time will also be the legislative luncheon. And the luncheon will be a time for legislators, both that some of you will be meeting with, but also some legislators that don't have folks from their district coming in, a chance to eat lunch with us and have conversations further about the work we're doing at MCAN and in the communities throughout the state. We are working very hard to schedule all of your legislative meetings for you, and we're doing the best that we can to make sure that everyone has at least an hour break during that lunchtime, that 2-hour lunch, for everyone to have some time to eat lunch and recollect and prepare for their afternoon meetings. At 1 o'clock, we're going to have a guest speaker. We hopefully will have all of our speakers confirmed soon and be able to announce those to you in the days to come. The afternoon will conclude with a few more legislative meetings that we'll have scheduled for you. closing remarks by another guest speaker, and then a group photo of all of our advocacy champions that will be joining us for the day. So before Advocacy Day actually starts, there's a few things to make sure that you should be doing. So the first should be to register to participate. Hopefully by this time you have all registered, you're all signed up and ready to go. If anyone from your community or organization would still like to be involved with Advocacy Day but has not registered yet, they can get in contact with me directly and I can get them added to our list. And then do some research about your legislators, find out who they are, both from the House and the Senate side. It's important to know what their districts make up, what committees they're on, what issues are important to them, so you can use those as talking points to help break the ice and get to know your legislators during the intro of your meeting. And make sure you familiarize yourself with the issues. Brandy went through in great detail a lot of the statewide issues and legislative docket that's going to be going on. So spend some time looking at that, but also understanding what is happening in your community around college and post-secondary credentials. And then gather materials about your network. So we will be providing a lot of resources and handouts, including our legislative one-pagers from MCAN, but we'd also encourage you to bring flyers and brochures about your organization, about your community, to give your legislator that local standpoint of what's happening. And then finally, make sure to connect via social media with the hashtag Goal2025, and Emma's going to be talking a lot more in depth about social media in just a few minutes. When we are at Advocacy Day, it is important that you do have comfortable and professional clothing. I know for myself, I definitely will be bringing an extra pair of shoes, a pair of shoes that I can walk from the House to the Senate building in, as well as my dress shoes for the meetings that I'll be in. Also, it's very important to have a photo ID. You will need that to get into both the House building and the Senate building. And then again, just a reminder, we will be scheduling your legislative meetings for you, and I will be sending out an email to each of you within the next week on who those legislators are that we have scheduled with you. If you decide to schedule extra legislative meetings, please, please, please let us know, because we might have other folks going there as well, and we want to be able to coordinate as best we can so we're not filling a legislator with 6 meetings about the same topic. And then a big question that always gets asked is parking. Just like last year, we're going to recommend the best place to park is the Townsend parking ramp, which is located directly behind the Senate Binsfield office building. For those of you that will be coming in using a GPS, the address to put in is 213 Townsend Street, Lansing, Michigan. And this map here shows it's just south of the Capitol. During the time that you're actually meeting with your legislators, some quick tips on how to conduct those meetings. Remember to first and foremost introduce yourself and your organization, talk a little bit about what you do in the community. Provide the information about not only your organization and the work that you're doing, but also the work that we're doing here at MCAN. And then you can get into talking about the issues that we are particularly advocating for. Leave whatever handouts and resources that you have brought for the legislators, and then, of course, thank the legislator or the staff member for their time. Some quick tips about Advocacy Day. If the legislator is unavailable, even if we've already scheduled a meeting with them, please meet with their staff. It is just as beneficial, if not more beneficial, to meet with staff members than some of the legislators. The staff members are the folks that are working every day on these policy issues and generally are around for a lot longer than some of the legislators, so they really have the expertise and the knowledge of what's happening here in Lansing. Be sure to ask for photos. Photos are a great chance for you to take back to your community and publish in local publications, as well as to put on social media to show the connection with your legislator, but to also show the community the work that you're doing. And as a reminder, don't discuss campaign contributions or activities during legislative meetings. Statewide, it's very important, and any legislator staff will stop you right away if you start talking about the campaign side of things. We want to keep our time focused on advocating for policy and the work that they are doing currently. And then a quick reminder to make sure to send follow-up either via thank you note or an email. We will have some handwritten cards available for you to fill out and sign if that's yourself doing things as well, and we'll make sure you also have emails and contact information for your legislators. And as a final reminder, MCAN is a nonprofit organization. We do not take sides politically for one party or another, or endorse or support candidates that are running for office. Now I'll turn it over to Emma, who will take us through social media.
All right, I'm getting over a cold, so just bear with me. I'm just going to speak with you guys briefly on Advocacy Day communications and social media. So ideally, we'd like to see you start beginning conversation of Advocacy Day prior to the event. This would entail beginning engagement with your local community, putting posts out there on all outlets, prefacing your attendance and excitement towards the event. Also here you can begin reaching out and tagging the legislators in your district to alert them to the event and show your interest in meetings and slowly start it down. As you can see, I've provided some examples below. You can use those or feel free to go your own way. It's totally up to you. During the event, make sure that you're staying connected with your network and posting throughout the day on how your experience is going, who you're meeting, so forth. That can begin with the training you go through at the Capitol and then move into your meetings. Remember to take lots of pictures, whether that be at the Capitol, on the way to your meetings, or with your legislators. These can be used for posts during the day or also in local publications later on. Again, I've provided some examples. Feel free to adjust what you need. Post-Advocacy Day, we want to keep the conversation going. So this could be done in multiple facets, such as utilizing your pictures, as I said earlier, in local publications, documenting your meetings, and so forth. Continuing to be a strong presence on social media is really important as well. With your legislator, your outreach shouldn't end with Advocacy Day, as these issues should generate an ongoing conversation. Make sure to follow us on all our social media outlets. I've provided the links below and our Twitter handle as well. I will be sending, hopefully next week, a list of all your legislators' Twitter handles, Facebook page, so forth, so you have easier access to reaching out to them. And don't forget to use our hashtags as well, hashtag MCANadvocates and hashtag Goal2025. I will pass it over to Sarah to finish it up.
Excellent. So you've received a lot of information today. You've received a little bit about MCAN as well as the policies that we are advocating for here as an organization. And you've also heard about our social media strategy and what to expect in Advocacy Day. If you are thirsty for additional readings and resources, here's a couple of links for you to explore. Our Reaching for Opportunity report, which is really our organization's policy agenda and partnering with other stakeholders across the state. Feel free to visit our website to review our advocacy strategy, as well as the 21st Century Education Commission report. And finally, and what we'll probably provide for you at this year's event, is the 2018 Lumina Foundation Stronger Nation report, which provides localized attainment data as well as additional information around Goal 2025. So again, this is our contact information for all of our staff members. We are, again, so excited that you have decided to join us for the 2018 College Access Advocacy Day, and we look forward to seeing each and every one of you on April 25th.